Okay, so I think this is what everybody want to know. How did Corey Minor end up in prison? Now, was it because you kind of followed down the same path as your father,
No,
and you was breaking kneecaps with baseball bats? I mean,
no. Um, I own an investment company,
okay,
and in owning the investment company, um, at the same time, and now this what I say is the worst crime, the worst charge, the worst thing that I ever did in my life, and that was here I am. I'm focused. I'm going to make this business out to be something. And for a while it was. For a while it was. But what happened was, first of all, if God isn't for it, then nothing's going to come to be it. Especially if there might be a purpose that He has for you. Well, at the same time, I ended up having an affair, um, and it just I took my eye off of things. At the same time, there was a my the vice president, his wife, she got ill, some respiratory ailment, and so he had to leave because she had to go out of state. So naturally, he goes. Um, I lose the guy that's over our mortgage division. He decides to start his own business. The guy that's over our insurance business, he gets our insurance division. He gets sick. Um, this person left, that person, and just key people. And so what ends up happening is I'm not. I've got more obligations. I've got multiple offices, and I've got more obligations, and I'm not focused enough to take care of those obligations. Even if I was focused up, it's still a lot. And so trying to get things to recoup. What my main purpose was to do. We would do economic analysis and things like that, and make sure portfolios are in line and so forth. There's also a legal requirement to make sure that people were in the right investment mix, pursuant to their investment profile, all that kind of stuff. But then also training new people and making sure those that are there that are doing their job. Because sometimes I don't care if it's a financial advisor or a doctor, whoever. Folks sometimes have a tendency to do just enough to get by, and so you want to keep pushing guys and pushing guys. And I wasn't doing it. I was focusing on other things. And so what ended up happening was, if a person, let's say, let's put it this way, we get paid once a month, sometimes twice a month. Typically, it was twice a month though, from fee. Actually, not typically. Every time it was twice a month from fees and commissions. And so what I would do was, if you had money, I would pull money out of your account, your account to cover overhead. In the meantime, you would get a statement from us. Well, the statement, because it doesn't reflect what was actually in your account, that statement would be fraudulent. My charge was a mail fraud charge. So if you use the U.S. mails, or if you use a postal, not a postal carrier, but a private or commercial interstate carrier to deliver it, then it falls under mail fraud. And so that was my charge. And so my thinking was, as fees and commissions came in, put it back into your account. So, but if you got a statement in the meantime, well, then guess what? That's still fraudulent. And so that was my charge. I was pleading to. Now, what's funny is, my attorney. This was her first federal case. She didn't know anything about the federal cases. I mean, about federal law. Nothing. I didn't find that out until 5 or 10, maybe 15 minutes before I went in for my sentencing. If I'd have had here's what's funny, and I don't want you all to hear this, take this the wrong way, to think that because what I did was egregious, it was wrong, it was sinful. But had I had an actual attorney, I wouldn't have gone to jail. If I'd had an attorney, no, it wasn't a pyramid scheme. No, Benny, this is what folks try to figure out what's happening and what did happen. Here's what's funny. If you were to look at my sentencing transcript, they couldn't even figure it out. They still didn't figure it out, because they're like, hey, well, where did this
mm,
money go, and here and that and so forth, whatever. And they ended up saying that what they put me down as owing wasn't even the amount. They did what was called oh, my mind is going blank here. A victim impact statement, but what they did was they did uh, a survey, a client survey. It's not really a survey, but they would mail out questionnaires to all of the clients, and they would have them to compare what they think they have and what might be missing and so forth. And so initially, I think there's like 7 or 8 respondents, and the dollar amounts, the discrepancy was a few $100,000. When it was all said and done, the federal government at one point in time had up to $8 million. At one
Oh
point in
wow.
time, they had like 80 something clients involved, whatever. It whittled down all the way down. Um, and but had I had an actual attorney who knew this, my attorney never ever once, not once, asked for the evidence. The reason why that was important is because, and it's somewhere in here, over there, the affidavit from the company that used to deliver our statements. This isn't making it better. I'm just telling you, just as far as legalese are concerned.
Right. Right.
Uh, they would deliver the statements. It was, I'll say their name because they may they'll still be in business. KS Couriers. They just delivered locally here in the DFW area. Well, using a local courier is not a federal offense. Even if I was shipping guns using a local courier, it couldn't be brought in under the mail fraud statute because you didn't use UPS or FedEx or DHL or the post office. My attorney, if she or he would have been an actual known the federal statutes, would have said, "Well, let's see the evidence." I never saw my evidence. The dollar amounts went down to, because there's a certain person that's sitting there saying, "Hey, this is how many victims he had. This with the dollar amounts," and that's wrong also. But the dollar amounts dropped. I won't even say the number, but dropped significantly lower than what this other person's saying and what the government initially had. They would not drop below a certain threshold. The reason why is because the government has certain thresholds to hit for enhancements, and so she didn't even know how to deal with these enhancements. And so here I am thinking initially that I was looking at 2, 3, 4 years, maybe 5 years at the max, possibly probation. By the way, when I get to prison, everybody that I met in prison with the same charge, the same numbers, they end up having 5, 4, 3 years on the same charge. Me, I pled and got 20 years.
Oh man.
Now,
Wow.
why I think I got 20 years? For a couple of reasons. One, anyone that is in ministry, and at the time I was, that does anything to sully the name of Christ and that is involved in sin, there's going to be a strict condemnation. God is going to deal with you and deal with you harshly. So
Wait, so hold on.
There's,
So you were a Christian at this time?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Okay. All right. So hold on. We got to back this up.
Back it up.
So when did you get saved? Like, okay, so you were in college for football, and then now when you were in college for football, yeah, you were in Texas then. So at what point between the time that you did this crime and the time that you were in football did you get saved, and how did that look? Basically, given on the stuff that we heard about your father and your household, the stuff like that.
I got saved in 91. I became a Christian in 91.
Okay.
And up until really the first part of even running my business, everything was fine in terms of my walk. But my goal was not really what I should have been doing. My goal was to take the world by storm with this business and so forth. And I was too focused on that. Family life was suffering. Now my intentions were all good, and you could be, and of course, anyone who is a believer will just say, yeah, you can mess up, you can do stuff and think, okay, that's wrong, and then turn around and do it again, and then be grieved by it and do it again. It wasn't like that. Hey, every day I've got this diabolical plan to do this, do this, and do this, and do this. And so what I ended up doing was, the first time that something happened, where okay, I've got this issue with the business. I've got one of two things I can do. Close an office and lay some people off, or try to salvage this and keep it going. X amount of dollars is what's needed. What am I going to do? Remember, I told you the mentality that I had was early on was fix it. You fix it. Well, that didn't always work. And my mentality, of course, coming from my father also, you fix it might not be always legal, but my intent was to fix it for the good reason. Sinning for the right reason is still sin. You can't, you know what? I want to feed the children. I want to take care of the poor and homeless. So let me go rob a bank. Well, my intentions with the money is right, but that's still sin. And so when you're caught up and you've got other things going on, some good, some bad, sometimes you're just doing too many things also. And a lot of things that I was doing wasn't even sin. It was just doing too much. That was me. I might have, early on, I'm at the church too much, right? That's not sin, but where should I be? I should be spending more time with my young family and so forth. And so
Right.
you can kind of lose sight of things. It just happens. And I needed a course correction. And with me and my tempo, the only person that was going to course correct me, was going to be God. That was the only person. And so here it is. I'm making my mind. I'm not losing this company. I'm not shutting anything down. Nope. I'll do this. And the problem was, here's the problem. The first time I did it, here, let's pull money out of this account in a month, 2 months, because put it all back at one point in time wasn't possible. So if I put it back in stages over a month or 2 months, then fine. The first time I did it, guess what? It worked. Oh, okay.
Mm.
So in my mind, no harm, no foul. The person got not only what they were supposed to get, but what I would do is I would give them even more. I would say, hey, we're putting you in this bond that's going to give you more of a return. And so they got more than what they would have gotten. They got more than what they would have gotten. The money is back. So let's just say I took. I'm just going to throw a round number out. I
Okay.
took out, I don't know, 10,000, but then put back 12,000. They got their money back plus more. They were happy, no harm, no foul, and I was able to cover this. But as I said, other things were falling apart. And so if God is blowing on what you're doing, I don't care how much band-aids, how many nails in the hand, I don't care how much what you do, it's going to fall apart.
Yes.
Unless the Lord builds it, then you labor in vain. And so that's what I was doing. And so here I am, not realizing, Corey, what you're really fighting against is God. That's ultimately who you're
Mm.
fighting against. And so every time I thought that I had things going, it was always something. It was something here. It was something there. It was something here. It was something, always something. And so, matter of fact, by chance, that because if this would have happened probably a few weeks later, a month or two later, I would have been okay. What happened was there was an investigation that took place, and they did an office visit on this investigation. The only reason why they did this, normally they would just send out a questionnaire, answer this, and that's that. But their office was relocated from New Orleans to Dallas, down the
Mm.
street from my office. The reason why their office were relocated because Hurricane, was it Katrina, hit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. New
their
Orleans. So yeah.
offices their offices closed. They moved to Dallas, literally down the street. And so rather than doing a survey, they decided to make it a training. And so they went through with a fine tooth comb and so forth. And so they saw some things that they might have thought was actually a little suspicious. Of course, what they looked at actually was legit.
Right.
But anyway, so my mind every time, whenever I did something, like I said, it wasn't like it was an everyday thing. So I did this. I'm going to fix this over the course of a month or 2 months. It worked out. Yeah, it worked out, did well. The person is made whole. Matter of fact, more than whole. If I have this problem again, I'll do it again. And so that's what happened.
Ah.
Now they ended up saying which they will do. I won't say the number right now. Uh, I'll tell you off camera. I'll tell you, Alton, off camera, why I won't say the numbers right now for
Okay.
another reason. But it's significant. It's not significantly lower than what the government's saying, because certain folks are saying what they think the numbers are, and they're wrong, and I'll let them be wrong. I'm not going to
Right.
correct them right now. So, but yeah, that's why that's what I was involved in. It was one of those things that you do it, and it's like, Lord, why am I doing this? And matter of fact, here's what's crazy about it: sitting there praying, Lord, help me to fix this. Bless this mess that I've created, so I can get out from
Ah.
underneath stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And I've seen people do that. Lord, I don't want to be in what I'm in. Help me to fix this. I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to make it right. And Lord, you can't make sin right. How do you make sin right? You just don't. But here I am thinking
Exactly.
where there's a will, because again, it worked before. It worked. The first time I did it, it worked. A couple of times I did it, it worked. So you can, I don't care who you are, you can be blinded by sin. You cannot see what is apparent for other people. You I don't and guess what? We've got biblical examples of people also. Now I'm not putting myself in the same category as some of them. No, but what I'm saying is,
Right.
when you're when you're involved and you're entrenched, you can't see what's happening around you because you're in the middle of it. And so sometimes it takes God to break your legs, to knock you down, to beat you up, to get you to even want to see what's the truth. And that's what happened to me.
Wow, wow. So was that your first time ever like going to jail or being in the
Yep.
system or anything like that?
Yep. As bad, what's crazy is as I grew up, as I grew up, you would have thought that I would have seen, I'd have been in and out. Nope, never. No. I was one of those guys. I could hang out with the with the guys on the street, but not be involved. Partly because I knew one of the things I wanted to play football. I wanted to play football, and so I knew to stay out of trouble. I've heard stories from other players. I got to talk to other NFL players, and they
Mm-hmm.
they had their stories. Hey, listen, you gotta eat right, you gotta sleep right, you gotta live right, stay away from certain things. I didn't even drink. I got drunk one time in high school and smoked some weed twice, but I wanted to have some clean living. I wanted to be healthy because my thought was I'm going to the league, but
Right.
obviously that it happened. But that was one of the things that kind of kept me out of trouble on the streets.
Mm. Wow. So man, I can only imagine like how it is, and at this time did you have kids or anything like that when
Yeah,
you went in?
yeah.
Wow, to be like a family man, professing Christian, and to now go from that to waking up one day and you're getting ready to go into prison. And you said that you went to Beaumont. Is that where you were sentenced originally?
They don't sentence you to a place in the feds. The judge can recommend, which I don't know why they do, because most times they recommend a place, you don't go there.
Okay.
The courts don't have well, I take it back. The court can direct the BOP where to send you if they want to. They can, but what they typically do is give a recommendation. If the court say, hey, no, he's going there, then then the BOP has to listen. But they leave it to the BOP. The BOP will determine based on where they think that you're a better fit. They sent me to the worst place in the USP. Why? I'm not a killer. I'm not killing, but they sent me there. And like I said, day two, I'm being challenged. I'm being tested. They want to see what kind of person you are, if they can take advantage of you, if they can use you, if they can do some stuff to you, or use your money, or what have you. There's always some snake there ready to do whatever. And so they sent me. I'm like, Lord, why do you have me here? Why? I'll never forget. There was one day I was walking the yard, and I'm praying, Lord, okay, fine. I love you. You know I love you. Why would you send me here? And it's all this where I had almost a Pentecostal moment, like the Lord told me, because you know good,
Uh
like a Joe Clark moment. I got down on my knees and cried, my God. And he said to Joe or Corey, I won't say that part, but you know good.
hmm.
You are right where you need to be, with the worst of the
Yeah.
worst or those in between. You are right where you need to be. Now I could do some good also on that yard as well, but you know what, it's time for you to come face to face with who you are, and all you can talk to is just me being
Yeah.
God. And so it was eye-opening, because what if because I remember saying this to people in prison, what if I would have got a year or 2 years or 3 years? That time would have went by quickly. Would that have changed me? Would that have fixed whatever character flaw? Now, listen, newsflash: every last person that's listening on the Smart Christian channel or listening on
Hmm.
Alton Johnson's channel, you got a character flaw, whether you know it or not. You do. But with me, what would have happened if I got a year or 2 years or 3 years? I might have been, you know what? Hey, yeah, okay, well, I dealt with that, but now I'll just move on, because that's kind of been me. I could deal with whatever and just keep moving on. I didn't need to just deal with something and keep moving on. I need to deal with it, and there be an actual change where I'm no longer relying on myself. I couldn't rely on myself anymore. That was that. Matter of fact, this is how crazy it was. The case that was filed for me, every attorney that ever looked at my case, Corey, you're gonna win this. You got the affidavit. You got the court even saying so, that she never even looked at the evidence. You see what the evidence would have shown. Oh, easy peasy. You're gonna win this. It's gonna take some time, but you're gonna win it. But it didn't work that way. God, it's like what was open and shut. Well, if God shuts it, it's shut. I don't care
Yeah.
what.
Amen.
Yeah, and so
Yep.
um, so what happened was, as I'm in prison, like, whatever, God, not in the negative way, whatever you're gonna do, whatever's happening, um, it's up to you. Now you file your appeal and so forth, because 20 years is a long time. It's a
Yeah.
long time. And so let me go ahead and do what I got to do and see if I get any relief or whatever. And but Lord, I promise that in the meantime, when I, that while because I believe you're going to open the door for me to leave early in a couple years, what have you. But I want to be ready. I want to be as godly as I could possibly be. Well, those couple years never came, and so I said, you know what? I was at peace, at the most peace that I've ever been, except for when I first became a excuse me, a believer. I felt as close as I've ever felt before. The first few years of my walk with Christ, I felt, listen, I felt like I was just like I could do no wrong. If I went out witnessing my first few years, and my wife would tell you, if she sent me to the store to get some bread, as long as you know, I'll be back in about an hour or so because I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna share the gospel with somebody, and guys, I promise you, I'm not embellishing this. If I talk to 10 people who were not saved, I promise you, 7 of them, whether legitimately or illegitimately, I'm not sure, I don't know their heart, but 7 or 8 of them will make a positive profession of faith. I felt like this is where the Lord is using me, but I moved away from that. Those first 3, 4, 5 years of my walk, no, even more than that. Let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of my walk, felt like it was the Lord was just using me. I could just feel it. But then I started getting, yeah, well, you know what? He can keep using me while I do this, while I do that. He'll keep blessing me. No, no, no. You can get to the point where you think that you are so blessed, that you are so anointed, that you've got it going on, that you can do any and everything, that everything that you touch turns to gold. It's been my pattern that everything I touch turns to gold, so to speak. Not everything, not literally, but I've had success. So this won't be any different. Well, no, God is not a tool. He's not a hammer or a nail for you to use. If
or a
anything,
genie.
you're the tool that God would use. I had to get that
Right.
switched, and so God had to fix that. That's a hard fix for me. And a 2 or 3 year sentence wasn't going to do it. That wasn't going to do it. But a 20-year sentence, I got your attention now, don't I? Sit down, shut up, cry all you want, but you're going to learn this lesson. You're going to hear everything I got to say. You're going to learn everything that you need to learn. Not everything, but you get my point. Now,
Right.
once I said, you know what, at a certain point, Lord, I feel at peace. When my mother died, I was in prison when she passed away. I was hurt, but there was a calm and a peace that came over me. They took me off the yard and put me in the shoe. Still to this day, nothing that I did to land me in the shoe, but all they have to do is just question you, think that yeah, I think he might be up to something, and I wasn't. Put me in the shoe. I'm back there for a few months. While
So
I'm
can you
back,
tell people what the shoe is for those who may not
I'm
know?
sorry. The shoe is special housing unit, or you call it the hole. It's like solitary confinement. They might put you back there by yourself or with
Right.
another inmate, and
All right.
it's just crazy back there. You're locked up for sometimes 24 hours a day, sometimes 23 hours a day. If you want to go to recreation, and recreation is going out and putting you in an outside cell. That's all. An outside cell that's about sometimes 10 by 10 or 20 by 20. You can just walk around if you want to, but you get a little bit of sunlight because there's cages all around you and then up top. So
Yeah.
you
So
just locked up in fresh air.
and you saying that they put you back there because they were suspecting that you were up to something?
We still don't know. We still don't know.
Okay.
When they finally let me out, because my wife was told, hey, he knows what he's done. He's back there for a reason. They give you a lot your lockup papers to tell you why you're back there. They gave it to me, and I still have it. It is because I said it to her. It's blank. It's just got my name on it, but doesn't tell the reason why. No
Mm.
signature on it. She gets it and sends to Region. Region says this is ridiculous. Well, they put in, but they don't do anything. They put in a request to have me sent away. The lieutenant on the yard because he's just going by whatever. And Region rejects it. Said no. Send him back to. At this point in time, I was at the camp. Send him back to the camp. The lieutenant has the final say so on that yard to say, yeah, I don't think he's fit for this camp, and they can use whatever reason they want to. If you disagree with another inmate, I mean, if the staff disagrees with the inmate, that's all they need to say. Yeah, you're not appropriate for this yard, and they can ship you somewhere. Region told them twice, let me go. They wouldn't. They ended up sending me to the low. They up custodied me to the low, but to that low. I get over to the low after several months. By the way, while I'm there, I get a letter from the court stating that my case, I actually forgot about it, truth be told, that my case was over with. They denied it. I could go back and file based on new evidence because my attorney never investigated, and I've got this affidavit that was never submitted, so that was enough to get me back in the court. But I didn't file it. I didn't file this thing, and remember, I've still got 7 years, at least 7 years left on my sentence. So it would have been good. It would behoove me to file this thing. No, I had this calm that whatever, Lord, whatever you do. I
So
get
at this time, wait. So at this time, how long had you had already been in by the time you got to this point? Because you said you had about
I had
7 more
years
years.
left. So I had
So you had done like 13 at this time?
no, I had done
Oh,
13
okay.
yet. I'd done 11 or 12.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, close to it. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
No, I did 12. I was in it at 12 years. I was in 12 years left. 12 years so far.
Wow.
So when I got the letter and they let me out, you know what, Lord, I'm just going to, it's all in your hands. I'm good. I want to go back and see my wife. I want to go back and see my kids. It was hurting me. The worst day I ever had in my life, the worst day, not when my father died, not when my mother died. No, the worst day I ever had was my daughter, Bailey. She was on the phone. I'm trying to hold it together. She was on the phone. I was talking to her, and I was at Beaumont at the time. She was 5 or 4. And she asked me, could she come spend the night with me? Hold on. And man, I can't tell you how hard it hit me. She wants to know, can I spend the night with you? Can I stay the night with you? Your daughter asked her father if she could spend the night, and I couldn't. Nothing I can do. And I was so hurt. As soon as I got off that phone, I ran back to myself. I didn't want anybody to see, I'm holding these tears back. It just tore me up. And so,
Man, wow.
yeah, I wanted to get back with my family, but I said, Lord, I'm just putting it in your hands. And I meant that. I trust you. You've been with me thus far. In prison, I could have got a little hustle on the side if I wanted to and made some money. I could have taught people how to invest their money and charge guys a few $100s per class. I could have been rolling in the dough. There was a lot of different things that you can do to make money in prison. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do any of those things. One guy asked me when they sent me over to the low, hey, I tell you what you can do, Corey, since you got a connection with some guys over at the camp, hook us up. All you got to do is hook us up to send, and you ain't got to do anything. If you just get me in contact with this guy over there, if it works out, then, and we send in phones and tobacco and weed over here, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month, I will cut you a piece of that. So I'd be getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. No. Well, when I go talk to the case manager over at that low.
Now, what is the low?
Huh?
What is the low?
I'm sorry. There are different custody levels in prison.
Yeah. We squares out here.
I'm sorry. You got the ADX, which you don't want to go there. I've never been. I wouldn't have, but you got the USP, which is the highest you can go.
Okay.
Typically USP, medium, low, and then camp.
Okay.
And so I kind of worked my way down, coming from Beaumont down to a low at Fort Worth, down to the camp at Seagoville, but they sent me back up to the low. The case manager goes on the computer and he says, he said, I can't tell you what I'm looking at because you're on the wrong team, but I can tell you this: you're not supposed to be here. None of this makes any sense. He said it's BS. Go ahead and file your paperwork if you want to. They'll release you to a camp, but it won't be the camp that you want to be. They may send you to a camp on the East Coast. He said, if you give me a month or two, I'll put you in and I'll send you to, if you want me to send you a camp, fine, or I'll get you to another low back in either Dallas or Fort Worth. I'd rather be at a low behind the fence than at a camp 1,000 miles away. So he got me to Seagoville. Here's what's funny. From the date that I stated, Lord, I trust you. Whatever you're going to do, I'm not filing this case. I put everything away. 7 months later, I'm released. Now, here's the cool part about it. Technically, on paper, it's going to say probably 2 things. I've got the second step, the First Step Act, one of those acts applied to me, and then also the CARES Act, where a lot of inmates got let out on COVID. Here's the thing, though. I was called to the office of the case manager's office to give my address and everything for me to be released in January, February.
To
of
be released on parole or just
no, no, no,
time
no,
served?
just to be released.
Oh, okay, okay,
Now, my sentence was not up. This is 2020. I get out in 2025, so my sentence is not up.
right.
But I'm put in January, February. I can't remember exactly, either end of January, beginning of February. But my designation is CARES Act for COVID.
Mm.
Here's the problem that would make you scratch your head.
Mm-hmm.
COVID was not an issue in January or early February. So
Mm.
whatever they put me in for, they changed the rationale once COVID became a thing. But they had put me in to be released before then. Why? What happened? I have no idea. I
Wow.
have tried to figure this thing out. I have no idea other than God. Other
Yes.
than God, because
Yes.
now they have an official designation for it, but you put me in months before COVID, and the CARES Act was a law March 27th of 2020. So we're talking about a month and a half before then.
Yeah.
I believe this, and I'll stand on this. If you are faithful to Him, then watch what He does. What I can say, and no one has to believe this, my wife knows, I know this, and people who saw me in prison, that implicitly I trust the Lord. No matter what, I trust the Lord.
Yes.
I can stand before Him and say, Lord, you and I both know, if no one else knows, that I trust you. And I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to do something, but I'm cool. I might not like it, but I'm cool. And so